Hello everyone and welcome to video number 4 of Real Trends. I am your host Geoff Exstrom, and you can probably tell we got a new studio. Big thank you to my man Sean Carson, who today is behind the camera and new producer of Real Trends, set us up with this awesome studio. You see the movie posters behind us. Big black desk right in front of us. It is awesome. Cannot wait to do stuff with this new studio in the future stuff that we can do in these videos. Really excited. I hope you're excited about it because I know I am. But with that under our belt, we got plenty of stuff happening over the weekend with the box office. Let's recap it all. Alright, and now the box office results for June 21st through the 23rd. First, the box office champion this week, it was expected, it was Toy Story 4, the fourth installment of this Pixar series, starring Tim Allen, Tom Hanks, and Keanu Reeves, brought in $120 million at the box office. I predict $160 million, but like that's been the theme this summer. It's kind of been slumps for the sequels, but I don't know if you could technically call this a slump. They brought in $120 million. The studio was expecting around that much, maybe a little more, but still a very successful week for Toy Story 4. Then coming in at number 2 was the second newcomer of the week, was Child's Play, the reboot of the 1989 Chucky classic starring Aubrey Plaza and Mark Hamill, brought in $14 million. I was so close. I predicted $13 million, so solid box office weekend for the new horror at number 2. At number 3 was Aladdin. It continues to be in the top 3 this week, making $13 million. They made $17 million last week, so that's a 23.5% drop, but they're still holding strong. I think most of it's coming from the foreign markets, but Aladdin again with a very solid showing at number 3. Coming in at number 4 and one of the biggest drops of this week was Men in Black International. They brought in $30 million last week in their opening weekend. They claimed the title for top movie, but this week they drop all the way down to $10 million, a 64.5% drop, similar to last week when we saw Dark Phoenix drop over 70% when they had a similar opening. So the Men in Black International has kind of been a bust as of late. It really disappointed in last week's opening weekend, and they have a huge drop, especially with Toy Story 4 coming out. So really disappointing for Men in Black International. Coming in at number 5 was The Secret Life of Pets 2. They brought in $10 million as well, but they are at number 5. They had a big drop as well. 59% drop from last week when they made $24 million. I think part of that has to do with Toy Story 4 coming in very strong with $120 million. It was either Secret Life of Pets 2 or Toy Story 4, and you already know the name and brand that the Toy Story Pixar series has, so that really brings Secret Life of Pets 2 down. And that rounds out our top 5 box office results for June 21st to the 23rd. And now to the Real Trend of the Week, a new segment here on Real Trends. Kind of debuted at last week when we compared the sequels and reboots and how well they haven't done so far here in 2019. But this time around, with the recent news of Avengers Endgame announcing that they will re-release the final film of this 11-year Infinity Saga set of films that's going to release this Friday, June 28th, making a final push to get past Avatar and become the #1 grossing film of all time. Avengers Endgame sits at $2.75 billion, while Avatar sits at #1 with $2.788 billion. So this inspired me to go back and look at other blockbusters throughout the years and how well they've done through re-releases. So let's compare them. First off, we got to compare Avatar, who's sitting #1 in the box office of the biggest grossing film of all time. They re-released in August of 2010 when they accumulated $10.7 million. And we're only going to compare the domestic box office instead of worldwide. So they got $10.7 million in domestic, but they got around $30 million total. Then we jump forward all the way to September of 2018 when Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2, the final film of that 8-movie series, where it only accumulated $181,000. Then also you have The Lord of the Rings Return of the King, the Best Picture Oscar winner, was re-released in June of 2011 and accumulated $818,000. Then you jump all the way back to July of 1978 when the original Star Wars was re-released, and it got the highest on the list, $33.9 million when it re-released, and was quite strategic by the studio as they re-released it the day after the Star Wars film closed on its original theatrical run. Then another part of the Star Wars series, in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, it re-released in March of 1985, and it captured $11.2 million overall. Just a few comparisons of the past years and how they've done in re-releases. So to wrap things up, I would say that expect Marvel fans to show up and push Avengers over Avatar to break the record for the most grossing film of all time. And when you look back on these comparisons, I would say the only one to really consider would be the Star Wars ones, especially with the New Hope, especially with how much of a cultural phenomenon that movie was. So I would say it's gonna get around $20 million domestically, and then the foreign market should get anywhere from 20 to 30 and push Avengers over the top. Marvel fans are different, and they know this is a final push to get it #1 all time at the box office, and they know it, and they're going to push this film over the top. I just have a feeling the Marvel fans are going to do that. So that's going to wrap up the real trend of the week, and now let's look at future releases for this weekend. And now the upcoming films for June 28th, this Friday, but we do have one film that's going to be early release. It actually releases today on Wednesday, June 26th. It's Annabelle Comes Home, the next installment of the Conjuring universe. This one starring Farrah Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, and written by the Saw creator James Wan. It's another installment of the Annabelle series, and this time it takes place at the Warrens' home. It's going to be mainly around her daughter and how the babysitters get into some trouble with the Annabelle doll. It's coming out on Wednesday, and it has an expectation of around $35 million. And I'm going to say it's going to stay around there. That's almost exact number of what I was going to put it on. Even though that the recent horror films of The Nun or Lorana has really kind of bombed or scared some people off in terms of how good these horror films are, the Conjuring series and James Wan their name carries a lot through the horror landscape, so I think it will come in at a solid $35 million debut. And the second biggest film coming out this weekend, and my personal favorite that I'm looking forward to, is Yesterday, starring Himesh Patel and Lily James, directed by Oscar-winning director Danny Boyle, who did Slumdog Millionaire and 127 Hours. Danny Boyle, known for independent filmmaking, this is his first ever film to have over 2,600 theaters in its opening weekend. The last time it had over 2,500 theaters was back in 2000 in his film The Beach that had a $15 million opening weekend. And I would say that's a good benchmark, even though I'd put it a little higher considering this is about the Beatles and that name carries on its own. But with it battling between Annabelle and the second weekend of Toy Story, it's going to be down a little, but I still think it's going to come in solid with a $20 million opening. And that's going to wrap things up for video number 4 of Real Trends. Big thanks to the man behind the camera today, Sean Carson, and producer. Big thanks to him for setting us up with this new studio. Hope you guys are liking it. Make sure to hit a like, subscribe, and comment on what we could do better or new things you'd like us to try. So, hope you enjoyed. It's been real. I'll see you at the next one.